Welcome
Awesome.
to a pre-lunch session, which means many people are probably watching this on recording rather than live. So building family and community support with Dr. Cline. Education is my second career. Previously served in U.S. Army as a military policeman, served 2 years as a drill sergeant in Missouri, and was stationed at Fort Drum in New York, Fort Knox, Kentucky, and Fort Richardson, Arkansas. I'm also a veteran of wars in both Afghanistan and Iraq. My wife and I live in Pikeville with our 4 daughters. Loves to play guitar, read, paint oils in his spare time, becoming less abundant as my girls grow. I know that feeling with 2 little ones at home. As a family, we spend most of our summers in our yard and vegetable garden, and our winters cheering on the Kentucky Wildcats, which is getting easier to do. Yes. He has a doctorate of education from the University of the Cumberland. So I will hand it over to you to get us going.
Thank you for that, Brooke. I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to present here today. It's a good professional development stepping stone for me, and that's why I'm doing it, kind of outside the comfort zone kind of thing. I would like to talk a little bit about building family and community support. It's a cornerstone that is oft overlooked, and it's one of those things that everybody complains about, but we don't really have good solutions for. So I'd like to talk a little bit about those today. The first thing I think that's important is we talk about the why. NEA says when schools, parents, families, and communities work together to support learning, students tend to earn higher grades, attend school more regularly, stay in school longer, and enroll in higher education, higher level education programs. And that should be a strong motivator to us all, because those are the things that we are trying to accomplish. And the public is a very tricky thing. Chadwick characterizes the public as disenfranchised at worst and complacent at best. So a lot of times defense is very important there, especially when it comes to social media and everything. But to talk about community engagement is probably most helpful, I think, to talk about what community engagement is not. There's a clear distinction between engaged public and persuaded populace. A persuaded populace is what happens when you have a good public relations team. Everybody can know that your brand is doing well, but they're not involved. They're not a part of it. Conversely, publics are formed when a group of people decide to live and act in a certain way. And those decisions made together gives their choice legitimacy and moral force. And that's coming from Chadwick. I'll have the book at the end. It's a really great read. It does take a village to raise a child. That's an old proverb. And the whole community, businesses, churches, hospitals, employers, schools, all of those have an essential role to play. And since we have as a community, as a people, have decided that educating our new humans is a worthwhile endeavor, and that's what we want for our society, that's why we have schools. So we have to shore up and make sure that that relationship is shared amongst all stakeholders. What does it mean to have family and community support? Parents and guardians that support teachers and administrators, especially when you have to take disciplinary action or when grades come out. We want them to be on our side or supporting teachers and administrators in those endeavors. We want them to donate their time and resources, whatever they have. Each person gives according to their talents and abilities. As we said, improved attendance, an increased sense of belonging, which is really becoming crucial as we become a society more of digital citizens. That sense of physical belonging is very important. Stronger school reputation. That's great for the teachers and staff that you have working in your building. those social media rants where a parent or guardian with half the story tells the whole story in their own words. When we have a stronger school reputation, that's either less likely to be fully believed, or we may even get somebody to come to our defense. And the big takeaway there is their us sphere expands to include the school. A lot of times we say us, humans are tribalistic. We always think of us versus them, whether it's this school versus that school or this country versus that country. We want to build our school reputation so strongly that all of our stakeholders, or at least a large portion of them, us includes the school. Students are more engaged in their activities, participate in extracurricular activities, are more actively interested in the classes, have better academic success. Those are all things. So it tells me as an administrator that family and community sport is something I want to invest heavily in. How do we do that? Open up to the community, community groups, forums. It can be informal. A lot of times we'll have a large group of people after a ball game that will approach an administrator and bring up a concern or strike up a conversation. Those community groups help it be an us dynamic instead of a them up there at the school. Create opportunities for involvement. So many times I'm reaching out to try to build partnerships with alumni and community partners, and they all say, yeah, I'm willing to help. I just don't know where. I don't know how to go about that. So we want to make sure that we're creating opportunities and sharing that out so that everyone knows how they can get involved. Community awareness campaigns. Let your facility be a place in the community where people want to come to you to use it for church fundraisers or a community party of some sort. We want this to be a place that the community feels that is the center of their community. And then surveys, you can always ask, put feelers out there and see what your stakeholders are thinking. What are their thoughts on policies that you have in place? What are they seeing in the students that they would like to point out as a good thing or point out as a bad thing? But that community involvement, to have involvement, you have to have communication first. The responsibility for raising a well-educated and civic-minded generation cannot rest solely with the schools. Research shows that as a whole, students found positive and convincing relationship between family involvement and benefits for students, including improved academic achievement. The weak link in our contemporary education model is the loose relationship and infrequent communication between the school and the parent. The school talks to the student every day. The student talks to the parent every day. But then the third part of that triangle, us as a school to that parent, is not as well defined and definitely not as, doesn't contain as good communication. We want to make sure that they're involved. We bring them in so that they don't, our community, our stakeholders, being they, don't view us as adversaries, because we're certainly not. We definitely can't become something that student or parents feel that they need to protect their student from. And that partnership, that relationship is what we want to talk about. We need to build that up so that we're not viewed as that adversary. We'll talk a little bit about that here. Strong partnerships, that could be with community business, with parents, other guardians. We need to get time to know one another. We need to create that. That's coming back to those forums, those town hall meetings. When everybody gets on the same page and they get to know each other, it's no longer them, it's us. Our school's principal thinks this. It becomes something that we don't want to turn against that person. And successful programs find the time and resources for both teachers and parents to develop school family partnerships. that's a hard one, a hard sell, especially those after school things that teachers don't want to stay for. But we've had success here by finding those people that don't mind to spend an extra hour or two helping kids, and it's really helping to change our culture here. Without the information and skills to communicate with each other, misperceptions and distrust can flourish between parents and school personnel. And that's going back to the adversarial view of the school. We want to be seen as steadfast, as honorable, as trustworthy, so that not just so that we have an easier day, but at the same time, we want the parents and the guardians to feel that we are worth investment, that we are a lighthouse on the hill, as it were, that we are the subject matter expert. And we do a lot of things in our building that don't get out to the public knowledge. And that's kind of the direction we'll head for the rest of this talk. It has to be a total package. The vision starts in the breastbone of the leader and is built into a shared vision with key stakeholders and site base and a structural leadership team. But then everybody's got to get on that page. Consensus is not necessarily 100% of your folks, but everybody has to be on board with where the organization is going and how it will get there. And then from that point, once we reach what that is, everybody's full steam ahead. Traditional things that have been done, especially when you talk about moms coming in as volunteers in the 70s and 80s, they may have been an aide, but that was the only parent we got to see. Today, we have grandparents as parents. We have more students living with guardians. That's not a weakness. That is a different thing that we have to grow to encompass and make sure that we're tapping in there so that we can communicate with them the way they need to be communicated with and present them the opportunities to do business with us. Difference is that is really important when we start talking about grandparents as parents. I mean, if you have somebody that went to school and graduated high school in 1965, like my father did, and they are raising a generation of fourth graders right now, or have a fourth grader in elementary school right now, it's quite an education gap. It's quite a culture shock. So we want to make sure we're communicating with those people in those terms. And socioeconomic factors come into play there as well. We want to make sure that we're putting our message out the right way, the way it can be heard, understood, and to bring those people in. Here are some keys. Communications, the first, foremost, biggest thing is communication. We want to prepare our folks when changes come up. We want to share information with them in the ways that they are used to dealing with it. Most of the folks in our area are Facebook savvy. They're familiar with the school website, but Twitter's not really popular. Twitter's not really widespread. So we're going to focus on our school Facebook page, our club Facebook pages, and our school website. And I like doing Facebook Lives a lot. I mean, I have a face for radio, but I like doing that live because it has an extra level of intimacy. I'm a big fan of written letters. I have postcards, pre-made postcards that says a shout out from the principal's desk to an outstanding student, sort of thing. And I like to handwrite notes on the back, and I'll mail that to the parents. That extra level of intentionality or intimacy really helps build a little bit better relationship. Outbound communication, that's what we're familiar with. I fall in that trap a lot. Like when I say I am communicating well with stakeholders, I'm thinking I'm putting out information a lot. Well, that's half of it. There's also that inbound communication that needs to be a part of our plan. For outbound communication, like I was talking about, Facebook. If your stakeholders use Twitter, leverage it, man. Free tools, and everybody's on it. They all get the notifications, so maximize that. Progress updates. We've always got a project going on where we're revamping a part of our hallways or striping our parking lots. It could be anything, but I'm going to let my stakeholders know, hey, remember what we talked about last week? It's still happening, and here's what we've got done this week. That lends to transparency. It lets them know that it's not a ship that is dead in the water. It's still moving forward. And the biggest thing that I've learned is if you don't take the opportunity to brag or to share the good news, that will create a void. And that void will fill. And most likely it will fill with bad news, rumors, speculations. Oh, I bet so-and-so is leaving to go to this school. I bet this is going to happen. And that creates a whole new set of nightmares, because we know as administrators, if a rumor gets started on Saturday, when you come in on Monday morning, it's fact. And you're like dealing with that, trying to answer calls about a coach leaving that you didn't even know was in the works. So you really want to take the opportunity to get your word out the way you want to, and be a good PR person. For that inbound communication, definitely we want to be available for meetings. I have a weekly, I call it a battle rhythm from the Army, but it's basically a loose schedule of my day when I'm going to be in classrooms, when I've got district meetings, and then when I have dedicated time for parents. I have that throughout the week. So when parents or guardians call in and they're upset, my secretary can just schedule them on my calendar in those times, and we're good. And I can hear those people. Have regular public meetings, forums. Those are great ideas, great ways to get information. And a lot of times, and I'm sure that everyone in the group knows, but a lot of times people want to complain to be heard, not necessarily to have a change occur. And that's a very interesting thing psychologically for me. It's very deep, but we'll take it as a shallow meaning. If somebody has something that is burning with them, and they just want to tell you about it, receive that. You know, we will learn something from it anyway. But a lot of times they want to be heard, not necessarily want change. Prompt and professional responses to emails. That's what you got to drive home to staff. You have to discipline yourself to do it. You know, we all have to. When that email comes in, don't let it get cold. 24 hours. You may, if the only thing you can manage to respond is I'll check into it and get back with you. That's good. If you have social media, I recommend automatic replies. Hey, thank you for reaching out. We will get back with you. We don't want them to ever be talking into the void, because again, nature abhors a vacuum. That void will fill with whatever somebody's willing to put in it. I would rather put my school's message in it myself. And courtesy matters. We are in the people-pleasing business, like it or not. So everyone from that first call that comes in, your receptionist, to your receptionist that in your main office, to when your parent or your teachers are speaking with parents on the phone, that customer service tone, that attitude, that positive can-do customer service voice matters. That's how most parents know us, is from one, maybe two conversations with an administrator or a teacher. So we need to maximize that, leverage that one conversation, even, as my mother would say, even if it's somebody that you can't stand, you can fake it for a couple of minutes and help walk away thinking that you were, a polite person. My mother was kind of weird like that. So moving on, that's communication. We have to have communication. That is where that's the cornerstone that we're building our strong building on. We want that clear communication. Then after we're telling them all this stuff, we want to be transparent with it, because everybody's got 14 conspiracy theories about their local school board and local school. There is an assumption that there's a lot more cloak and dagger going on with those big multi-million-dollar budgets, and that people are walking away with pockets full of cash when really we're just trying to get buses on the road. But that's where transparency comes into play. We are a people-pleasing organization. We're providing a service to the most important person in a parent or guardian's life. So we want to thoroughly explain all rules. I like to have a student handbook at the beginning of the year. give them a student handbook, show them the digital copy of the student handbook, have them sign that they've read the student handbook. And then anytime I correspond with parents, I always reference that student handbook. And then when we're doing Facebook Lives, hey, the student handbook is here. Parents, make sure that you're looking at the section on vaping, because our discipline matrix is in there. The first time it happens, this is going to happen. The second time, this is what's going to happen. The third time, this is what's going to happen. That way, when you go down the road and your quarterback, the state champ quarterback, gets caught, you can say, hey, I have to be consistent across the board. I have to be transparent. He did this. This is what happens. Doesn't matter if it's the most popular kid in school or the least popular kid in school. We're transparent. Here are our policies. And that goes into holding all accountable. Your favorite is held to the same standard as your least favorite. That doesn't matter if it's the janitors you're talking about, or the students, food service workers, teachers. You got to treat them all the same way, because that conditions your team. That creates a culture. And when people are talking to members of our organization, that's what comes out. It's like, yeah, they're tough, but they're fair. It doesn't matter who it is. They're all held to the same standard. Calendars, week ahead slides. Hey, stakeholders, this is what's happening in the next week. If you're interested in this, this is going to be on this day, at this time, in this location. It helps them understand that it's an us organization. If you have over the summer, maybe your site-based put some changes to school policy in, maybe that student handbook that we built everything on has changed slightly. Maybe the dress code has changed. Be transparent with it. Get ahead of it. The old Army saying is that good news or bad news doesn't get better with age. So get out in front of it. Tell the story the way you know it needs to be told. And that is transparency. If we change dates on a school dance, get out in front of it. Hey, we've had to move the date of our winter formal ahead to the following Saturday because, hey, we just realized that our band is awesome. They won this award. They've been invited to this new competition, and that's 200 kids. We can't have a dance with 200 kids gone. But that will help our stakeholders know, oh, they changed it, but it was for a good reason. So I want to support that. Site-based meetings, PTA, PTO, whatever meetings your organization's holding, hey, tell them, broadcast it, week out. Hey, next Tuesday, you want to come in and talk to our site-based, we're going to be in conference room A. We'd love to see you. I had 12 visitors once show up at a site-based meeting last year. And they were just positive. They just wanted to come in and watch. And it was an interesting dynamic because I thought that if they were there, the tar and feathers was in the hall, but it was a good experience. And public forums, I'm going to be very generous there and say Facebook Live counts, even though that's kind of a one-way, an outbound communication, you still have those comments. You'll still get those emails. Recount wins for the school. Whatever, everybody wants to be on that winning team. It might be that your janitors got a brand new brand of cleaner and it smells amazing in the restrooms. We want to share that. We want our stakeholders to know. Consistency, stick to your guns on expectations, meetings, policies. Everyone is watching. Us as administrators, those teachers are hoping that we start showing up late. They're hoping that other things get in the way and we don't have our monthly scheduled PLC meeting, faculty-wide PLC. They're looking for that. So we're going to have to be consistent as possible. Flexibility, and a lot of people say, yeah, you got to be consistent, but you got to be flexible. It's not mutually exclusive. They're not antonyms. We can do things consistently while having some built-in flexibility. What I mean by that is sometimes if we have our meeting every week on a Wednesday, we can change that to a Thursday. We can even not have it this week. We can be flexible, but we need to have overall consistency. And again, disciplinary actions need to apply to all students consistently throughout the school. And what gets checked gets done. My custodians have a list of like 10 things that are non-negotiable. And they know that that's going to get checked every morning. That helps. I'll speed it up now. I think we got 5-minute warning or so. Vision. We always talk about vision as a buzzword, a vision statement and a mission statement. But at the core of that statement, we need to look at the vision. Once that vision is built, that shared vision of where your organization is heading, say where it's going to be in 5 years, you have to become the champion and the cheerleader for that. You have to say, hey guys, look, we're going to be the best school in this region in 5 years. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to do it this, and this. But you'll know we're getting close when you see this happen. You know that we're getting close when this happens. You know that we need to redirect and get back on course if this should happen. And point those out. You've got those written down, those teachers and stakeholders have that in their mind that the road signs exist. And when you see them, act like you're on a family road trip. Hey kids, Big Bend, Parliament, do that kind of thing. Tell the world when you see that road sign. It helps build that consensus, keep that drive moving forward. And everyone wants to be on that winning team. So sell. Branding, logos are tremendously important. If you have 8 different versions of your logo, scrap 7 of them, pick your favorite or have a new one drawn up and go with it on everything. Mottos, slogans, call and response, school song. At my school, I brought in, when I was a drill sergeant in Fort Leonard Wood, our unit's motto was excellence always. Doesn't mean that everything is always perfect or excellent. It means that we're going to do our absolute best at all times and all things. Doesn't matter if we're splitting an atom or digging a ditch, we're going to do our absolute best. But anytime I say excellence always, my students reply, go Hawks. And that's a brand in itself. And values. We had a really bad problem years back with the way our students conducted themselves at ball games. So our student section, we got a code of ethics. A retired emeritus teacher here that was just phenomenal. And he's everybody's grandpa. It's Mr. B's code of ethics. And it's worked tremendously well. Branding is confidence building. Everybody buys Nike. Why do you buy Nike? Because you have confidence in the brand. I want my school to be Nike. And when they buy into the brand, then they become we. And that's where we want to be. Visibility, you got to be, I like to be visible at ball games, archery tournaments, band recitals, wrestling matches. The farther I travel, the more bonus points I get. Go where your students are doing good things. If you have a kid in a class and you're constantly on them for not doing their work and they're the star point guard, go watch them on the court so you can see the good things and then bring that up in class. That will get them on board. Community functions, feeder graduations, commencements, ball games at the feeder schools. Those are great. If you can mention something to or comment or react to somebody who has graduated from your school, that speaks volumes. Their parents see that, their aunts, their uncles, they all feel like they still belong in a family. I like to be the first in and the last out. Every day my teachers know when they pull in this parking lot, they'll see my truck there. And most likely when they leave, they're going to see it as well. And again, that just leaks back out into the community. Some things that we've done, this is nearing the end, that have really helped us build community support is our school is in its 30th year. We have digitized almost all of those yearbooks and put them on a website so our stakeholders can go back through page by page and flip even all the old ads and everything. So it's a really good thing for our alumni. Weekly overviews, here's the week ahead. Alumni recognition, Hall of Fame, bringing them in, let them speak to students. Businesses sponsoring school shirts as tangible rewards for good things. Honor roll announcements in a paper, it's old school, but it works. Student recognition, every day we're celebrating a couple of students. Branding, and be the propaganda minister of your school. Spread the good word, let people know how great it is. And bottom line up front, your community and its family want to be involved in your school, but they are hesitant to go all in. It's upon us to demonstrate that we're a worthy partner for them and present plenty of opportunities for their involvement. And I'm done. Thank you.